Welcome back to Chapter 5. We're still talking about hyperlinks at this point, and in this section we're going to be talking about how an anchor element is actually structured. First off, let's cover the anchor tag. That is quite simply an A tag. Now there are no required attributes for this tag, but a few recommended attributes would be the href, or the hyperlink reference, which we've seen before, and a title attribute, which again we've seen before as well. The combination of these two in one tag makes hyperlinks a very easy resource to use. So let's go ahead and break down this tag. First off, you can see from the coloration, we have different parts. This should be fairly similar to previous videos, but let's go ahead and break it down even further. First off, we have the anchor tag, that's the blue parts. First off, you have the A tag at the very beginning, the closing, and the very end, ending the actual tag itself. We have the attribute, we've seen that before. We have the value, in this case it is an HTML page. And then we have the link text. That's what is displayed when the anchor tag is put on a page, and is also what is clickable from our previous example. This is the action. This is basically what's going to happen when the link is clicked on. There are a few other values that this could have, but for this we have an attribute of hyperlink reference and a value of login.html. So when someone clicks on the login text, it will take them to login.html because that is the action that is being taken. For local links connect to other pages. Relative linking or absolute linking can be used in this. On the right we have a good example, just a blank value. This can be to login.html, index.html, etc. Even files in folders. Even if you want long URLs to folder or files inside multiple folders. So if you also take a look at the bottom one, you can notice that that is an absolute link. It starts with the root directory and then goes from there. The rest are relative, which means that there's going to go from the current directory into those files and or folders. For external links, these are to connect to external websites, and these require a protocol. Either that is HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, etc. If there is a protocol in it, the browser will process this as an external link. If the protocol is not there, the browser will process this as an internal link and try to find something located in the current directory labeled, for example, google.com. But if you have http://google.com, then the browser will say, hey, this is an external link, so therefore we need to make sure we process this in the appropriate directory on the internet instead of trying to find it locally. Now this can be as complex as you want it to be. Well, I've given you a few examples such as validator.w3.org, www.abtech.edu, moodle.abtech.edu, analytics.google.com/analytics/web, and so on. This can be as complex as you want it to be or as simple. If you have internal locations, this is different from your standard local links, but it can be combined. I'll explain that in just a minute. This is referencing a point on a page, but it does require a two-step process. To give you a good example about what this is, say we actually have this page from Wikipedia about AV Tech. We bring the mouse in and we click on the curriculum right here. What that's going to do is actually make the page scroll down to this point that has curriculum at the very top. Now, how do we do this? The two-step process is actually quite simple. One, we apply an ID to the section or the picture or the heading on the page. And step two is we add a hashtag or a pound sign in the ID of the element. Let me explain that a little more. What happens is that we have a standard ID in an element. In this case, we have the ID of this p tag is login. Now for the link, we actually have the hashtag or pound sign and login as well. So these two, the ID and the hashtag or the pound sign and the ID of the previous item, are connected. So if someone clicks on go login, it will take them to the point on the page that has the p tag of the ID login. So let's take a look at this example again and actually break it down a little bit. First off, we have the mouse again and click. On the area that says curriculum, if you notice it actually has an ID of, it has the link of hashtag curriculum and then square brackets and 5 in it. That's just the way Wikipedia has it set up. Once we click on it, it actually goes down onto the page And at the very top, because we have the reference of the anchor point, the H2 has an ID of curriculum square brackets 5, which basically is telling the browser that we're going to move the page up to this ID point. If you also take a look at the URL in the top of the browser, you notice that it just says wikipedia.org/wiki/ and the full name of AV Tech. Once you click on that link with an anchor point in it, it actually adds it to the URL. So if you were to just take this URL with the hashtag in it, you would actually jump to the point on this page from any other site. I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, if there isn't an ID after the hashtag or the pound sign, this is what's called a null link. This is when an href is basically equal to the pound sign or hashtag. This will automatically go to the top of the page, or if an ID is not present on the page, then the link will take the page automatically back to the top. Again, this is a null link, and it's a good practice for anyone that doesn't have advanced styling on their page. So that way, anyone that's browsing this on a text-based browser can easily click back to top to go straight back to the top of the page. As far as getting for internal locations on other pages, what you would do is you would actually have the hashtag and the ID after the page name, just like we saw with the Wikipedia page. It will jump to the page and then the ID'd section on that page. If an ID isn't present on the page that you're trying to load, then it will stay at the top of the page. So let's take another example. The code at the bottom, if you see the contact.html hashtag form, will go to the form section on contact.html from whatever page this code is on. Let's take a look at this example on the right. We have the mouse, we move it in to send us a message online. That's going to take us to the contact section of the, 3, 2, 1. The form section on the contact page, making it easier for us to access and for anyone that's navigating the site to access the form directly instead of going to the contact page and then having to scroll down for the form. Now, the title attribute is the same concept as the ABBR tag. It provides a tooltip-like hint to the anchor point that's being provided. For the code at the bottom, you can see the title attribute, and in this case, log into the site, which shows exactly as a tooltip in the example. You can have different titles in anchor tags, and you can display that as you want. But based on this, you also have the capability to have multi-line, which means that you can have tooltips displayed in a multi-line aspect. Now keep in mind that this is the only way that you can actually have a multi-line tooltip or title attribute. You must add a new line, not just a BR, but a physical new line to the title value. In this case, yes, this is 2 lines in the code. You have the anchor tag, and you have the href, and you have the title attribute, but the title value takes up 2 lines. That way, the tooltip for the title attribute shows up on 2 lines. But if you put multiple space between the end of the title and the beginning of the next line, then the browsers are going to take your spaces quite literally. So even though it may look better in the code, it's not going to process well in the browser. Alright, that is it for this section. In the next section, we'll be talking about image links and different resources. If you have any questions, please send me an email or hit me up on Twitter. I'll get back to you the best way I know how.